Testing, 1, 2. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 47 of Bible Day Live. I call it Bible Day Live because it is the day that I have committed to going live on YouTube and just talking about an experience I had in the Word while going through the Bible in an entire year, reading the whole Bible and going through it so it can tell the stories, or using a reading plan, a plan that puts it in chronological order. So that helps tell the stories, connect the dots, helps me create better relationships with the stories themselves. So that's what we've been doing. We are on week 47. We started with week 1 in January, and we're going to start over again. This is like my 3rd year doing it. So we're just going to keep doing it. I see no reason at all not to do this very thing for the rest of my life. It is such a blessing to me to incorporate the Word into everything that I do. I love the idea of that, and it really keeps me focused on the things that are important. Okay, so I should have had this thing up here, but anyway, hello, it's Lorinda at Sister Admin, and I am at Sister Admin on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and I love the Lord. And I also love technology, and I love the Bible, and I love business. And integrating those 3 things into something that can help other people is what I'm all about. So we are here on week 47, and it was Acts 18 through 19, 2 Thessalonians 1 3, the entire book of 1 Corinthians, and the first 2 chapters of 2 Corinthians. Now, I do like the idea of having a reading plan, and about 2 years ago, I took an audio version of the Bible and cut it up into a chronological reading plan, and that is the plan and the links to the YouTube videos that you can get at BibleRoom.org. But you can use your own translation, you can use your own reading plan, your own chronological reading plan. It is completely up to you. My thing is just to engage, read the Word, listen to the Word, so that it can become a part of us. And you know what? It will read you. It will read you. You will find yourself thinking back on things that um I found myself thinking back on things that I read in the Bible, and it is just like the biggest aha and the biggest blessing, because I do believe that the Bible itself was inspired and created and written by the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, and it was an act of faithful love for God to put that together for us so that we could have that word, that book, those writings in one place to help us believe. To help us believe he loved us that much. To help us believe that he had a son, that he died for us. That was his strategy for helping us to get and stay in relationship with him, that he did that for us so that he could have relationship with us, because he's holy and we're not. And in order for us to have a relationship with a holy God, then we have to be in right standing. That's an incredible message for just us today. Like, if you want to have a relationship with me, then we need to be in right standing. I can't think you're a cheat. I can't think you're a person that is not worthy of my time in my relationship. It has to be right. If it's going to be a good relationship, then you have to be in right standing with each other. And I believe that is exactly why God created this solution for his problem of his creation not being able to have a relationship with him because he was so holy and we are not. And gave us the simplest thing to do to have that relationship. Just believe. And what that does for us, what it does for me is say, what you believe is the utmost important thing, because what we believe dictates what we think, and what we think dictates what we do, and what we do dictates the results that we get, the results that we get here on earth in this life, and the results that we get in the eternal realm. Whether we like it when we get there or whether we don't, it is all predicated on what we believe. So that simple act is the thing that opens the door for our gain. So that is what I wanted to share about that. Okay, so now this week is going to be a little tiny bit different because I want to go through what I did to create this video about Paul protecting the gospel with his witness. That really resonated with me. I remember when I was a little girl and I used to look out of the back window of the car. Like, my brother and my sisters would argue about who was going to sit in the front seat. You know, mom was driving, who was going to sit in the front seat. I didn't really care. I wanted to be in the back seat because I like having my knees in the back seat and my arms up on the back window, the back thing, and looking out the window and just enjoying the nature or the things going by, or whatever I was doing. But that was my thing. And one time my mom was stopped by a policeman, and he gave her a speeding ticket for running the red light. And I was listening to what he was saying because I was a very, very, very curious child. And I understood that he gave her a ticket for running the red light. And I said, but that's not true. I've always been an advocate for truth and justice. That's not true. I was looking, and I was looking out the back window. And when I saw the light was green. So that means we were all the way through the light before it turned red. So how could she have ran the red light? And so I didn't say anything. I kind of knew better than that. Grown folks was talking, right? When it was over, Mama, you didn't run that red light. He wasn't supposed to give you a ticket because you didn't run the red light. Mama said, I know that. I said, Mama, I knew it too because I was looking, you know? So protecting your witness is one of the things that I love about what Paul was doing. It was strategic. It was very strategic. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to do to share is what my thoughts were this week from reading 1 Corinthians and Acts 18 and 19. So this is the question that I came up with, and I'm going to pull this up here. And this week I used Perplexity AI to do this. And so I'm going to pull that up right over here. And here we go. Okay. So share screen. Share screen. There we go. Now, I hope you can see that. There we go. So this was the question. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I want to research how Apostle Paul said in the Bible about, I want to research what Apostle Paul said in the Bible about his occupation and the reasons he worked so hard not to burden the early church with his livelihood. The sources can be from the Bible itself or other relevant commentary or blogs. So the response was really, really good. And so here are some of the topics. Apostle Paul's occupation and self-supporting ministry, Paul's occupation as a tent maker, direct statements on working to avoid burdening Christians, defense of his right to support. All of this, we remember hearing all of this, right? The logical and practical reasons for self-support, identification with the working classes. Paul's manual labor allowed him to identify culturally with the people he sought to win, particularly the weak, the poor, less educated, lower classes, and slaves, who comprise 70 to 80% of the Roman Empire's population. While his education and Roman citizenship gained him respect among elites, his tent making demonstrated solidarity with artisans and laborers. You remember that song? I'm every woman. Paul was every man. He was educated and respected among elites, but he also identified with everybody else. So he was the perfect one for the job and role that he has. And how many of us know that God will use us through our life experiences, through our personalities, through the things that we are drawn to, that we are prone to? God just used those things. All things work together, right? So that was really, really what I was thinking about when I saw this. Okay, modeling discipleship, financial realities and support, and integration of work and ministry. Okay, now that's my thing. I am one person. One person. I don't need a whole different set of clothes to go to work and then a whole different set of clothes to go to church. Can't I just find something that works for church and work because I'm one person? I'm just simple like that. It's simple and practical. And integrating work and ministry makes sense to me because I'm one person and life is hard enough than having to be pulled in a bunch of different directions. Okay, I want to go this way, preferably make the best decision, the right decision every single time. Everybody knows that's not going to happen. But that is what I intend to do. That is my intention. That is my desire. That is my prayer, right? So, integration of work and ministry is a big deal for me. But I also realize that a lot of people that are in ministry either believe that you should be poor doing it, or that rich people are evil, or they just have this attitude about money that just I couldn't get with, or I just didn't resonate with me. So when I met Myron Golden, his response to that helped me so much, and it made so much sense. If it is in your heart that you want to be a rich man, that you want to be a rich woman, that you want to be rich enough to give and rich enough to help other people without hurting yourself, there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Money itself is a tool. It is not inherently evil. It is the person that has the money and what they do with the money and how they feel about it that becomes the problem. So, integrating work and ministry traditionally has just looked like something other than rich. Now, I just happen to be a very simple person, and I like things very, just easy going, and I don't like a whole lot of stress. I love the things that I love, and I don't mind paying dearly for the things that I really enjoy, the things that I really love. It just so happens that those things usually don't require a whole lot of money. I like to read. I like to study. I like to learn new things. I'm very curious. I can get lost in a book, especially the good book, for hours, for days. I even thought about being a nun one time because I'm like, who wouldn't want to have it as your job to pray and read the Bible all day and just help people? Wouldn't that be great? But those nuns take a vow of poverty. That's not gonna work for me. Not gonna work for me at all. Okay. So that's why I found myself a career that I can make a great living in technology, being a technology consultant. I started out as, just a regular IT girl building websites and putting together computers and all that good stuff. So anyway, integration of work and ministry is my thing. Okay, and then the conclusion. But the beautiful thing about perplexity is this right here. These 39 sources. Now watch what it does. It goes through and gives you every source that it tracked. Now that's kind of perplexity's thing, that it wants you to know where it got its information from. I love that because we are talking about the Bible here. We're talking about the word. I need references. I need Bible verses. I need all of those things so that I can go back like the Bereans. Remember, the Bereans was in our plan for this week. The Bereans went back and studied the Bible to see if what Paul was saying was true. Because one of the things Paul would do was to reason from the scriptures how we know that Jesus is the Messiah. He would take them through the Bible. And of course, their Bible in that day was what we call the Old Testament. So he would go through all of those instances that Jesus fulfilled prophecy and show them that he was indeed the Messiah. So being able to come with receipts and being able to come in truth is a big deal. So I love that perplexity does this, right? Even better when you copy use this to copy. It will take all of its answers and put it on the clipboard. And when you get it on the clipboard, then you can put it in a document. So I'm going to pull up the document that it created right here. Is this it? Yeah. All right. So this is what it created right here. Okay. Oh, I need to share this screen right here. All right. I have to get used to that. And screen share in here. Right. So this is the document that it created. So this is the same exact thing that we just saw in Notebook LM. But the beautiful thing that it does is all those sources, it lists all of them here. This did have them numbered, but I took off the numbering to go to the next step. But I can put it back on so we can see how many it was. Okay, that's 30, 39. 39 sources that he gave me. And I went through a whole bunch of these. I just started this document. Oh, 11:21. It changed the time already. That's why I don't like doing that. I set up this. Okay, I need to start. See, that's helping me because what this is like it automatically puts that there, but it puts the timestamp that it is right now when you open the document. I don't need to see the now time. I need to see the time that I started the document, it's like a timestamp when I made it. That's what that's supposed to be. So I set up this little macro to make it a shortcut to be that I can just put it in. And so I chose Control Q, and that just automatically puts in the timestamp. And I need to remember to do that for these documents, or when I pull it back up, it's just going to change the date on me. So I'm not documenting anything if I'm not keeping the date and the exact time. Anyway, so I took all those sources and looked at them for myself. I didn't go through all of them because the reason I was looking at the timestamp is to say that I did this morning, like something like I don't know, maybe I started around 8 o'clock. Just started thinking about, okay, which thing am I going to focus on? So that was that. So what I did with these sources, I use another tool. I use another tool to create, to kind of put it all together as a draft so I can, explain what I was thinking about it and try to put it together. So now the next step I took, so okay, what I did so far was, of course, I did the reading, and I was thinking about something I was curious to learn more, go deeper, see what other people have said, just thinking about the idea of a practical application of the word. So I went to Perplexity AI, and I asked that question, and it came back with a great summary, but it also gave me the sources. Now, ChatGPT will do that if you do deep research, but Perplexity does it even if you don't have a paid plan. So it will give you those sources and you can go back and look at it yourself. So we created that document. It gave me all those sources. And then I took those sources and I put them into another tool. Okay. And I'm going to pull that tool up now. And it's called Notebook. Oh, Notebook LM. Notebook LM. Okay, I'm going to put it over here. And we're going to share screen. And put that back here. And you can see that now. All right. So this was my notebook I did this morning. Oh, it kept the time in there. Let's go back. When I first created it. No, it didn't. It just kept the date. Yeah, it did. It's the time, 9:25. I'm a stickler for time. I'm a stickler for time. I like to know the date and the time for stuff. I think that's the project manager side of me doing that. Um, so I took some of those sources. I started like the ones that you see in here that are actual PDFs. Those are the sources that I went back and I read and I looked at them and I was like, okay, this feels really legit. This was a podcast that I found. So I took all of those things and I put them in here, the PDF ones. And so then, it was this morning and I had to go live, at 11 o'clock. And so I was running out of time. So instead of going through each of the sources and, reading through it and uploading the PDF, creating a PDF from it and uploading it into here, I actually use the feature in Notebook LM that you can add links from websites. Well, I already had the links from the websites. I got that from Perplexity, right? So I use this one here and look how beautiful that is. All I had to do was go in here and copy each one of those URLs, just copy and paste that list into here. That's why I took off the numbering so it wouldn't paste that in there and Notebook be trying to see that as part of the URL. So I pasted all those in there. If they are on a separate line, on a new line, that's how they should be put in there. So the two assets that I created in here was a video. No, I didn't do the audio overview. I did the video overview and a report. And the report I did was called a character. I hope it comes up. Character profile. Learn about the Apostle Paul's work ethic and his views on money and ministry. And I said, yeah, that's the direction I'm thinking because you remember what my first question was? I want to research Apostle Paul about his occupation and the reasons he worked so hard not to burden early Christians with his livelihood. Well, that was exactly one of the verses in our plan this week that Paul kept saying, I have the right to have money from you because I am serving you. I am feeding you the word. I am helping you live a better life by telling you the good news of Jesus Christ. So it's my right to expect to be paid for my ministry. And he also wrote, on the other hand, I'm not going to do that because I want to, essentially saying, I want to protect my witness of the gospel. Because one thing I have learned, the Bible is so very relevant today. And one of the reasons it remains relevant, the main reason is God does not change. The word does not change. And the other reason is people don't either. Human beings are going to be human beings, and the humans part of people, all of us, is the same. We all have fears, we all have desires, we all have things we love, we all have things we don't like. The human condition hasn't changed. So human psychology hasn't changed. And Paul knew that if I go around begging for money all the time, who's going to be listening to me about this good news? How good is it if you have to pay for it all the time? So that was Paul kind of saying that. So this is the one that I chose here because it was the report that Notebook LM could create that better aligned with what I was thinking. Because remember, I'm the one who wants to integrate work and ministry. I believe in that. I think it keeps things simple. Okay. But there are other things in here: leadership brief, theological commentary, explanatory text. Okay, but that's the one I chose. And then this was the Apostles' Paycheck video. That's the one I'm going to play for you at the end of my ranting here. So I haven't even looked at this yet. The Apostles' Hands, 35 sources, 1 hour ago. The Paradox of Apostle Paul, the craftsman from Cilicia, Paul the tent maker. So this is powerful witness. Oh, I'm going to enjoy this. So this is more stuff that I can use to create. I'm not even sharing. I'm sorry. But anyway, this is the report that it created. Okay. All right. And there's so many other things I could create in here that was very helpful. But you do have to, like I always say, technology is only as useful as it is useful to you and what you are trying to do. I had a very dear friend that would always say, teach me computer, teach me computer. And I would always say, what do you want to do? What do you want the computer to help you with? It's only as useful to you as you desire it to do something for you. Do you want it to do an email? Do you want to be able to send an email to complain about some kind of service you had? Do you want to create a database of your music collection? Do you want it to help you figure out a Bible study video? How that can be put together? That's how I'm using it here. Help you learn more about the word. So, some people, technology will never be for them because they haven't figured out anything useful for it. Either they haven't figured out anything useful or they just don't want to invest the time to have that help. So they're not motivated. So it's just not for them. And that's okay. But for those of us who would like that help, We are living in an age right now that is so fascinating with all of this AI stuff, like anything else. It can be abused, it can be used for bad things, but it can also be incredibly helpful. And that is what we've got going on here with this Bible study technology. It is incredibly helpful. And we have the source, to go back and check every bit of it. So, all right. Now, I want to play this video for you that Notebook LM created. But before I do that, I want to show you one other thing that I did. I also took the video that it created and I put it in this program called Descript. And I'm going to see, can I pull up Descript here for you? Okay. Let me see. Stop screen share. This one. Okay. This is right here. It called it the Apostles' Paycheck. I took this into Descript, and what Descript allows you to do is to edit the video as if you were creating a Word document. So if I actually highlight this and delete, it is deleted from the video itself. So it's just as easy as using a Word document. I just did Control Z and it put it back. So there were some things in here that I didn't quite like. And I didn't quite like them because I didn't have time to verify the sources. So I went in there and took those things out. Just as easy as Notebook LM put them in there. I took them out. Because so I wanted my witness to be protected, that yes, Notebook LM generated it from the sources that I got from Perplexity that was answering the question that I had about something I saw in the Bible. But I also protected my witness because I vetted the source. I vetted the final output. Okay. So it has to come through me. So in my eyes, uh, AI can't replace humans because you are still going to need that interface to be able to take it in the direction that we're trying to go. And if it does replace humans, I don't even know how that works. I probably won't be here when that happens. So I'm not going to worry about it because that's not my ministry. Okay, my ministry is about integrating the word with work and being an advocate for integrating the word with our everyday life. That's what I'm about. So now I'm going to play this video, and I don't know if I've ever done this before. Oh, the other thing I want to say is, so I'm going to be, okay, so this is going to be interesting. So Notebook called this the Apostles' Paycheck, and I'm going to play that right now for you.
All right, let's jump right into one of the most interesting puzzles in early Christianity, the money. Specifically, the Apostle Paul's money. All right, let's
Okay, what am I doing here? Oh, I need to.
All right, let's jump right into one of the most interesting puzzles in early Christianity, the money. Specifically, the Apostle Paul's money. Was this guy a self-funded, blue-collar missionary, or did he believe that people in ministry deserved a regular paycheck? Well, the answer is complicated. And honestly, it's absolutely fascinating. Let's get into it. But first, I want to take a quick detour to a national park. You know, the staff there have collected some really incredible complaints over the years. I'm talking things like, the coyotes made way too much noise last night. You guys should really get rid of them. And my absolute favorite, please avoid building trails that go uphill. You gotta laugh, right? But it's also a pretty sharp reminder of our modern sense of entitlement. This whole idea of what we think we're owed is the exact opposite of the Apostle Paul's approach to his own rights and his own pay. And that really sets up the central question for us today. Because when you look at the Apostle Paul, you see what looks like two totally different people. In one picture, he's a tent maker, working with his hands just to make ends meet. But in the other picture, he writes maybe the strongest defense in the entire New Testament for paying ministers. So what gives? Which one is it? To figure this out, we've got to unpack these two identities that seem to be in total conflict. Because the thing is, Paul was both, and he leaned into each one for very, very specific reasons. I mean, really think about it. This is the man who wrote a massive chunk of the New Testament. He planted churches all across the Roman Empire. And yet, in big cities like Corinth and Ephesus, he was known as a craftsman, a tent maker. And this wasn't some weekend hobby. The book of Acts tells us it was his trade, a tough physical job. That fact alone should make you stop and ask, okay, what's going on here? Now, you might think, okay, he had a day job, so he must have been against paid ministry. But that's where this story gets really interesting, because Paul himself makes the strongest case for getting paid. I mean, he couldn't be any clearer. He lays down this foundational principle. If you do the spiritual work, you deserve the material support. He doesn't frame it as a nice idea. He frames it as a right. And he doesn't just stop there. He builds this incredible case using a bunch of examples from everyday life. He asks, what soldier pays his own way? What farmer plants a vineyard and doesn't get to eat the grapes? What shepherd doesn't get to drink the milk from the flock? He even says, you don't muzzle an ox while it's working. His logic is just so simple and powerful. If this is true for every other kind of work, why on earth would spiritual work be the one exception? And Paul knew he was following the ultimate example here. The Gospels are clear that Jesus and his disciples were supported by a group of followers who provided for them out of their own pockets. So Paul's teaching on getting paid wasn't some new thing. It was actually rooted in what Jesus himself did. So, the case is closed, right? Ministers should be paid. But then we look at what Paul actually did, and the plot thickens. Because this wasn't just a belief for him, it was a right that he often chose to give up for a much bigger purpose. And this slide just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? On the one hand, you have his unmistakable teaching, but on the other, you have what he actually did in places like Thessalonica. He established his right to get paid, he argued for it with everything he had, and then he just refused to use it. So that's the big question, isn't it? Was he just being a hypocrite, or was there something much, much smarter going on here? The answer is that this was a deliberate, totally flexible strategy. Let's break it down. First, he didn't want to be a financial burden, especially on new churches that were often pretty poor. Second, he wanted to model what a strong work ethic looked like. Third, and this is a big one, he wanted to totally undercut the so-called super apostles, these flashy speakers who were charging huge fees for their talks. By preaching for free, he made them look ridiculous. And finally, he wanted to be completely free to speak the truth, without anyone ever thinking they could control his message just because they were cutting the check. He refused to be anyone's kept apostle. But here's the thing, this story isn't just about what Paul refused to take. There's another, really beautiful side to it, the story of a church that actually got it, and how Paul celebrated them for it. And that's where the church in Philippi comes in. In his letters, Paul says something pretty remarkable. After he left their region, they were the only church to financially partner with him. He didn't just accept their gift, he was overjoyed by it. He saw it as proof of their deep connection to his mission. And you can really see the difference when you put these two models side by side. The Philippians' gift was a true partnership.
Now, contrast that with missionaries in Eastern Europe who received care packages from churches that were filled with used tea bags and old, worn-out clothing. You see the difference? One is a real act of love and partnership. The other, well, it comes from a shriveled heart. And this is the key insight Paul wanted the Philippians to grasp. He wanted them to know that their giving wasn't a loss. It was an investment in eternity. He literally told them their gift was producing fruit that increases to your account. This just reframes the whole thing. Generous giving isn't just charity, it's a wise spiritual investment. And this is where it gets really beautiful. This is the theological heart of it. Paul takes their gift and elevates it to an act of worship. He uses language straight out of the old temple sacrifices, calling it a fragrant aroma and an acceptable sacrifice. He basically transformed their financial support into a spiritual offering, a beautiful act that was noticed by God himself. So when you put it all together, what do you see? You see that Paul's financial model wasn't some rigid one-size-fits-all rule. It was a flexible, mission-driven strategy. With the Corinthians, who were wealthy and kind of proud, he worked with his hands to stay independent. But with the Philippians, who gave sacrificially out of love, he accepted their partnership with total joy.
And that really brings it all home for us, right? We can get so caught up debating whether ministers should be paid or not, but Paul's example pushes us to ask a way better question. For him, every single decision, whether to work or to receive support, was filtered through just one lens. What is going to best advance the mission right here, right now? So what if we started applying that same mission-driven flexibility today? What do you think might change?
Isn't that great? I just love that. I love that so very much. So if I take that off, I can put myself back on. So isn't that wonderful? It did a really good job, right? I can see so many things in there that I can use for more videos and more study. So anyway, that was what I had for this week. I hope something in there encourages you to stay in the Word, just to make it a part of what makes your day, your week, your life better, because I absolutely know it does that for me. So I'm going to sign off, and I want you to remember that the more things change, the better we are to cling to God's word that never changes. God bless you.